Welcome to our presentation. It's called Making Madmen More Agile. This is based on our experience working with the M&C Saatchi group, one of the biggest names in advertising, and how we made our department a better place to work. These are personal experiences in a unique industry, but I'm sure there's things that you can take away.
And as we work through these experiences, always have in the back of your mind, right? So we're talking about culture. So these things might be true for you in your industries and your organisations, and we can take it from there. But the theme that we'll be drawing on, and one question that we're going to tackle and answer is, if you had your own company, what would it look like? If it was all yours, and just to get a sense of what that is, just keep that in the back of your mind. So now we're going to kick off. And tell you exactly who we are and what we're up to. So my name is Leanne Page. I work as a senior project manager, have done work in digital for the last 8 years. I'm also a lecturer and speaker in project management, just as a general conversation. I also mentor on behalf of the Project Management Institute, and I mentor junior PMs who want to enhance their skills.
I'm Joanne Ralfe. I worked my way up from a digital resource manager to senior operations manager at M&C Saatchi. I've since left and started my own little thing that I'm helping all agencies become slightly more agile and sort of just adapt to change and apply and change a bit better. So we worked for a group called the Digital Hub. What this was is it's the centralized unit of all digital production experts within the M&C Saatchi group. M&C Saatchi Group currently has 13 agencies in London, each with their own unique culture, sets of senior management all wanting different things. This made it even harder for us to make culture because we got told from above what their culture looked like, and it was really hard for us to sort of make our own.
Very true. I mean, when I started, one of those agencies that Joe just spoke of, it was quite a small team. I came in to work with them on their mobile digital projects only. Really small, really kind of in an agile sort of way in terms of collaboration. The teams were small, your director was amazing, and then once we got absorbed into what the digital hub as Joe's described, it was absolutely the opposite. And the team where we got sucked in the transition, we just like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do this? How are we supposed to respond? And there's no one in the agency that could really support us with that transition.
And I actually joined 2 months after Leanne. And in my interview, my boss was like, okay, so we're going through a bit of a merger, but it's all been handled really well, and it's going to be seamless. And so I arrived, and the said merger has happened, and there were a couple of warning signs, which I probably should have tweaked earlier. But then this lovely project manager came over, she drew me a map of where everyone sat, and in the middle of this map were just 2 blank banks of desks. And I turned around and I said, but there are people there, they're sitting there. And she goes, I don't know who they are. They just moved in one day and no one's introduced me to them. I'm not sure what they do. And I was like, there's definitely work to be done here.
Yes. I mean, all that and the same. And we thought, even on the project management program level, we saw very, very quickly what a mountain we had to climb, because obviously we had, was experiences with startups and smaller organisations, and having agile and back of our mind thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to bring this into this environment? And we saw that as a challenge, and we took it upon ourselves to really go in and make some changes.
Yeah. So at this stage, I just want to say that neither of us were in senior management. Both of us were on the floor. I was a resource manager managing about 35 people, and Leanne was just a project manager working up in a very vertical chain. Neither of us really were in any sort of position of power in this unit.
So it was interesting going through this process to do this talk today, because it really just helps us home in on the characteristics of what makes culture. And we boiled it down to 3 things. I think we've done it quite successfully. And the first one, arrogance.
No one wanted to ask for help. We were digital experts, and often the originating agencies were strategic and creative, but had no real concept of what we could do digitally, or what even digital was, or what would work in digital. But instead of asking for help, they would just tell us that this is what they wanted, and they weren't even utilising us in the best way.
That's right. I mean, it's one thing about culture, when we think about this for ourselves, what are people doing that they wouldn't necessarily notice? So we come into a situation like that and say, okay, we notice this thing. And I think one example from my perspective was, for instance, you have the creative director who has an idea, right? And it's his or her idea. They get the fame and glory that comes with it. They get a little section in the campaign magazine, and it's flashed all over the place. Great. You think to yourself, okay, interesting.
I mean, for them, we were seen as a vehicle for them to win awards, not as a group of people who will help them obtain awards. Like, it was a completely wrong mindset.
I mean, the second one we noticed, maybe it was just noisy. And the reason why we chose noisy, for various reasons,
well, everyone loved to panic. Like, they love to run around being like, it's the end of the world, this image needs to be 3 pixels from this side to this side, else the client will not be happy. And no one had any perspective. No one took a step back. No one was looking at best practice. No one looked at what actually people engaged with. It was all just based on what the client wanted now. And no one really had any vision of where we were going.
That's completely true. And the third one is fear of loss. I mean, this one was quite prevalent, and it was quite entrenched in the culture. It was, if we don't do that, we will lose this. If you don't do it this way, we will lose a client, or lose an account, or lose revenue, or something. So that was very much inbuilt into everybody's day-to-day being. So when they communicate with others, or communicate with people in the teams, that's what you're hearing. That's what people are saying. So really, the creation, and everyone's been talking about over the weekend, it's like, it dies over time.
And also it meant that we had a blame culture, right? And because basically you were so fearful of losing your job that if something went wrong, it had to be anyone else's fault but yours. And there's no way that a team can work without trust. I mean, I think we all just know that. So what we had is a bunch of individuals who just had loads of friction against each other because everyone was scared that they were about to be made unemployed.
Really? Right, so with all that in mind, thinking to ourselves, all right, so what are we going to do to change these things? I mean, as we all know, we can't, with Agile, there's so many things you can do and try, and as we all know, you start to build things first, as little as possible, and you grow and you move on. So we're just going to share a couple of things that work for us in this environment.
So in advertising, there's an expectation that everyone will always stay late. It's like you were chosen to hail at the mountain of this god of advertising, and therefore you need to give everything away. And also the clients, because we had just stayed late and done things, they wanted an amend at 7 o'clock and it would be done that night. Their expectation was we were always around, we would always do it, and that, that's the way things work. And so what we were finding is we had a huge amount of burnout. When I joined the department, we had 2 people off for stress sickness. I mean, out of 35 people, that's very high. Our staff retention was only 50%, which means people were just desperately unhappy. And as you know, when you have staff retention that's so low, it's very costly to replace staff. I mean, not only do you lose operational knowledge, but you also have to hire freelancers in at a higher rate, and you have to pay exorbitant recruitment fees. And so I went to my boss and said, I need you to sign up additional resource. And obviously, we do this great thing called capacity planning based on our forecast. And he was like, well, there's no incremental revenue, so I can't. And I literally sat there and looked at him and said, you've got to look at the P&L as a whole. And you need to see that we need to decrease literally our 180 grand that we spend on recruitment fees, and just by spending 5-10 grand now. He took a bit of risk and did it, but immediately we saw people were happier. I used to walk around at 6 o'clock and push them out the door and be like, you have lives, go home, go home, go home. And what we found is our staff retention within 6 months jumped to 85%. And year on year, it stayed that way. People were happier.
So I think the main thing was that one of the accounts that I work on was one of the biggest for M&C Saatchi at the time. And it was interesting because, as you know, you have those different levels in agency that size, and you have strategy, creative, design, dev, everything happening separately. There seems to be, the gap between them all was quite wide. So when we came in, we thought to ourselves, how is this even working with everyone working so far apart? So this was the challenge that we kind of worked towards in terms of bringing them together, and Agile just did just that, which I'll go into a little bit more detail a little bit later on.
And so what we did sort of on a sort of departmental level is, there were about 12, 15 project managers above me, and they kept on, it was poor planning, whether it was client side, client services side, outside, I mean, it's always up for debate. And what we're doing is people had poor planning, had unrealistic expectations, and other clients were being affected. So what we started to do, and it's really simple, is we implemented stand-ups, but we didn't implement stand-ups in what did you do yesterday, what do you do today. It was more stand-up of a forum to negotiate for resource. And suddenly people started to see the impact of what their poor planning had on others. Also, we suddenly had a sort of a relationship where the PMs had to start talking to each other, had to start understanding different people's accounts. And that also meant that when people went on holiday, people had a basic idea of what was going on other people's accounts, and that really helped too.
And what was key from that as well, on a director level, you could start to, they started to prioritise against their accounts.
Yeah.
And start to think, okay, up here now, what are we supposed to do next? So you found that on director level, they were working and having different conversations now, right? So I know that X needs more stuff now, so I can pull back a bit and not, crack the whip so hard. So those types of conversations start to happen as well through that.
Getting to know each other. I mean, it's probably the most simple one out of all of them, but undoubtedly had the biggest impact. So when we decided we had to do something, and as Dave mentioned in his keynote speaker yesterday, the best way to motivate people is through food. So we had tea times. We went and bought a load of cakes, bought a load of sweets, got some tea, got some coffee, and I put a meeting in everyone's diary, told them that they had to cancel whatever they had, and between 3:30 and 4, everyone came around this table, which we then christened our dining room table, and started talking. Just started to chatting, got to know each other, got to know people, what they did. And immediately from that, the fact that people knew each other's names obviously helped, but then also knowing what they did really started making us more a cohesive team.
Indeed. So there were the things that we started with. Now, we're going to share now over time, as you know, with Agile and the principles that you've just got to repeat, and it took us some serious disciplines to break through those barriers that were always there and they were consistent. I mean, that culture was quite thick, and in order to break through that, you have to be really consistent. And that's something that tested me a few times. I mean, it's nowhere near perfect, but we definitely had a breakthrough. So what we started to see, which is amazing, is an amazing sense of affiliation. The account that I worked on, what we started to do was have monthly sessions, as you usually do, but with everyone, not just the dev team, not the design, everyone. I'm talking the directors, the designers, the account staff, everyone in the same room, almost like a retrospective, but you probably know this already. So we had a 1 to 5 kind of vote system that we did every month. And this was to establish how satisfied everybody was with what they were doing, how happy they are, the work that we're producing, their reputation. We want to judge those things. Now those things we created together. What did they want to be known for? And of course the team wanted to be famous. Of course the team wanted to, let everybody know in the marketing magazine or advertising week that they're the most amazing team you can ever work for. That was their goal. So we set that as a 5. So yes, okay, that's your goal to be in the campaign in next month. Let's shoot for it. But why? So we had to break that down. So from 1 to 5, we voted, the whole team. When we first started, it was a 1. A 1 was, I'm unhappy, I'm unsatisfied. I don't think we worked together well at all. Another 5 was right, we're shooting for the stars, we're the best team in the agency, we've got a great reputation. By the time we finished our work there, we got as high as a 4, we're still working on a 5. But it allowed everybody to say, especially the directors, oh, why were you 1? Tell me more about that. And it gave them the opportunity to really step up and then talk to their peers and say, okay, we really need to do something over here in the ground. It's not working. And then because we did it in a retrospective way, people were then empowered to say, okay, what do we do? What do we need to do next? And come up with those 3 things and move on. The next one was empowerment.
So a lot of people felt that they were at the end of a production line, that they had no say in what they were producing, they weren't adding loads of value, and they were literally seen as a sausage factory. And they felt the quality of briefs coming through were really low. And the developers complained, it was mostly the developers, some of the designers. And so what we did is we pre-approved everyone in the department to decline a brief. If it was not up to scratch, if there wasn't enough detail, if you couldn't take what you needed and build something amazing, just say no. And then the project manager and the developer or designer had to come and see me, and as a team we'd work together and sort of work out where the gaps were, what we were missing. And what we found was we were actually asking the wrong people to write our functional specification documentation. We were asking PMs who weren't very technical, who were great in advertising, but really maybe not so great on tech, to write these complex docs. And so what we ended up doing was started writing them together, and then by the end we were even getting to doing user stories and completely phasing out functional specs altogether and just having user stories.
And what was interesting about that phase was it gave all the other people in the team, like the account managers, directors, so on, to have more confidence in going back to the client and having that technical conversation. In a particular agency, we weren't client facing, so they had the accountability to say, right, this is what's happening with the project. So over time, the confidence started to increase, and we got more involved, and it started to happen that way.
And simple things of acknowledgement. I mean, one thing about being a shared service is we were really bad at PRing ourselves. We had 13 different agencies. We didn't work for all of them. I think we worked for about 5 or 6. And none of them knew what they were doing, like what we were doing for other people. No one knew what we could do technically. So what we started to do is we started to go into originating agencies and actually present work that we produced. And then we also started our own innovation arm and started showing what you could do with tech and getting people on the strategic and account levels to start upselling digital and to start, just getting people really excited about what you can do with technology. And then we also did a little thing again. We did Friday drinks. Every Friday we would sit around and have drinks. Once again, our dining table comes into it. We all sat around, and usually I'd prompt people about the work they'd done that week if I knew it was particularly good. One thing I want to say here is every week there wasn't something to celebrate. We didn't produce great work every week. Sometimes we had really tough weeks and we just sat around and just said we'll be better next week. And I think that was also really good for the team to have, a platform to say, wasn't great, I'm not happy with what we did this week, but next week I'll make sure it's better.
It's true. I mean, on a day-to-day project management level, what was interesting when we implemented the daily scrums, as you do, we'll ask the team at the end of each week your highlights and your lowlights. What was actually going on for you, emotional or anything to do with work, anything like that. We'll do an A3 sheet on the wall, ready to go. Each month we'll sit down and say, right, let's go through them. And when we did, it was amazing because people then started to think about, right, that person did really well yesterday, or that person needs some support. I mean, the most thing that it moved me a little bit when we had the most junior level member of staff in the account team was really frustrated before these sessions. Said, oh God, they're not doing anything on time, and this, that, and the other. I really need this so I can do my job well. And when we had our session, when we went through the highlights and lowlights, it wasn't even on the A3 sheet. Somehow she found the confidence to just come up and say it. She just said, guys, I really need this from you at 10 a.m. every morning so I can do my job well. And everyone just went, whoa. And they're like, fine, that's great, we'll do that for you. And her confidence since that moment completely shot up. I mean, she's flying now, it's amazing. But it gave her the forum to actually say, no, this is not working for me, so I can do a good job for you. So that was amazing. So, this is over to you. When we say let's explore our future, we're talking about culture. Now, the question that we gave you at the start of the session, if you had your own company, what would it look like? And just so that we get an understanding of who's in the room, who already owns their own business at the moment? Okay.
Oh, wow.
Quite a few, good times. Well done. Hello, well done. Who is working for somebody else right now? Oh, that's big.
And put your hand down if you've only been working for them for less than 2 years. So if you've been working for them. So just a statistic, in advertising, we change agencies every 18 months to 2 years. So that's sort of the churn in our culture.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Our recruitment bills are through the roof. You don't want to see them. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of movement in our industry. So, with that in mind,
This is how it's going to go today. Obviously, a lot of you are already in groups.
Yeah.
I think almost everyone is. I think we probably owe a couple of people to back A3 papers. So sort of in the groups you're in, you'll be working.
okay. So what we're going to do now is, that question's still in our mind. At the same time, we're going to work together and build what this culture will look like. The ones that already have their own businesses, if you could try and mix up with other people that don't, that would be amazing. But if not, that's fine too. And think about, if you wanted to change the culture you've already just created, think about that too, right? So as we think about this part, we're going to ask you, we'll give you some trigger questions, things just to think about and get them written down. So we'll brainstorm that, and then each one, all of you guys will need to nominate someone who's going to report back to the whole group, and just share just about a 30-second kind of elevator pitch of what your new culture would look like. And then we should be able to share amongst each other and learn from each other what that could look like. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Great!
It's all going to be okay, I promise.
Good question.
No question. We are 3. We could use a couple more people in this group.
Great, let's spread around.
We've got 2-3 chairs here.
Right, so to the ones that are sharing, you'll have to use your summarising, succinct skills, right? Because I really want to make sure we get around to everyone so we can all exchange ideas and see what we're going to create here. I'm very excited to hear what you guys come up with. Right, we'll do round robin. So you guys are last, you guys are first. Who wants to go?
Yeah, I'm going to
Go for it.
Yeah. Are we standing up or just?
Yeah,
Whatever you're more comfortable
whatever you're
with.
comfortable with, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got 3 core objectives to what we want our culture to be. I think a lot of people have these in their organisations, but I'm not going to talk too much. But overarching thing is communication. So socialising, people going out for drinks. I think a lot of people bring cake into work, which is nice, but you're still in that work environment. So taking people out of the environment and allowing them to socialise and get to know each other on a more personal level. And we think there's not enough feedback, positive feedback to people. So we want to, whilst we don't want to encourage, to be seen to have our favourites, making sure that we say well done to people a lot more, which will inspire them to become more productive and less deflated. Creating a safe space to work where people are free to express opinion. And we think a family environment, it's quite a nice environment because people don't necessarily like everyone in their family, but they're free to kind of speak how they like, and hopefully know that they can say one bad thing and get on 2 seconds later. Creating a flexible environment, so varied work hours and varied work as well. I think it's really important. People might want to leave at 3:30 to pick their children up and come in at 10. I think we should allow for that. And finally, allow people to excel. So make sure everyone's vision is aligned. You give people the tools they need to do the job, and just making sure everyone's having fun. And then, so ultimately, we want happy employees, which hopefully equals profit.
Yay! What are the main takeouts you got?
So what I've taken out is socialisation in and out of the office. I won't need to or need to do both. Positive reinforcement goes better than negative reinforcement. Safe space to speak, so not to be judged, to maybe make your sort of what you think known. Flexibility of working hours and to enable your staff.
Awesome. Next team.
We covered up quite a few of the same ones actually, so I'll discuss the ones that are not great.
I love that it comes with the
those
bubble.
Oh,
Amazing, good job.
So the first one being that the rewards can be non-monetized, so actually you're recognising people's individuality, their personality, and actually they would prefer something like a holiday, a vouchers, whatever it is. Wine box, did you say earlier?
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
It's actually recognising that everyone is driven by money. There are other options out there. It has to be on have one. Development and training was quite a big one for us. We want to make sure that everyone's as employable as possible. So they're not going stale. They recognise that they're in a job where they're still learning things and they're still benefiting from being in that position, and therefore not tempted to move on to another role anytime soon. We had safety
from the same from the other team, feedback from the other team, freedom and responsibility, but with that coming accountability. Also kind of going hand in hand with empowerment as well, so people are motivated and do want to work on the project, deliver the project on time, but you only really get that when people are empowered.
Great, perfect, thank you. Was that the last one?
Yes.
Happy with those? You excited for those if you set up your own company? Does that get you excited?
Yeah.
Good, that's the aim of the game. Next team.
Right. Right. Now, hang on this. Okay, so we found 4 core areas where we want to focus on. One is benefits, perks, the material things to make people happy. The office environment, our product portfolio, and the offerings that the company's got, and the people themselves. And starting with the benefits, we've heard it a few times before, it's the flexi time.
Yeah.
If you need to go to Truro to fight with Cornwall Council, done it before, and it's really nice to be able to do that when you have to. Free food. The average developer loves their pot noodles, so having a full of pot noodles, love it.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, we're focusing on personal development, so access to training, getting someone into trainers, internal training sessions. Something I personally like, company cars.
Okay.
Not as a status symbol, just as a matter of practicality. We've got, remote working, work from home.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to, similar to the Cornwall Council,
Yes.
waiting for the electrician a half day. And team rewards, go-karting for everybody.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just awesome.
great. Yes.
Environment-wise, people like proper tools. If you have to design your marketing stuff using Microsoft Paint,
Yeah.
don't want that.
Yes.
Pain in the butt. We do want to experiment with stuff. I mean, I'm kind of tying in with yesterday's keynote,
Yeah.
scientific approach. Try something out. If it doesn't work, throw it away. If
Yeah.
it does work, keep it.
Yeah.
Remove stress.
Yes.
So try not to panic. Deadlines. I hate them.
Is there anything about your office environment is physical? So physically, what do you want your office to look like? Or do you not care? Is it not important?
We have a generic bullet point on that. It should be inspiring and have a nice decor.
Okay. We'll get the interior designers in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I know a guy.
Yeah. So time to innovate and take our time for quality.
Yes.
No rush, no crunch. That's just destructive. In terms of offerings and the products the company has, we're focusing on high quality, no cheap throwaway products.
Yeah.
And that makes products that we can be proud of, that are desirable and hopefully award-winning, and products that help clients, help customers, and actually provide benefit to the customer. And people-wise, the consequence of all this is that we get people who are skilled,
Yeah.
happy, driven, motivated, self-motivated, and autonomous.
Great. Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you. That was okay, next team. Keep it very, very succinct. A little bit shorter than the last time. A little shorter.
Sorry.
It's all right.
You found your own table, you got it.
Hello, we want a flat team structure, a flat company structure.
Okay.
Which will enforce by saying no one earns more than 5 times the lowest salary.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
We also add in a company ownership system where we get to share the company and profits a la John Lewis.
Yeah.
We have autonomous teams. The team are told what they have to do, what standards they have to conform to, when they have to deliver it. How they deliver it is up to them. Yeah, so some people like coming at 7 in the morning, some people like coming at 10 in the morning.
Yes.
You get morning people and get afternoon people and they're different. Want an open culture. We will do things like publish everybody's salary.
Mm.
We want realistic expectations. We want simple systems.
Okay.
Heartfelt plea, we want HR systems that work and purchasing systems that work.
Okay.
We want visibility and info sharing, and we want reward performance, care, also a random basis every now and again you give everybody a half day off.
Great. Thank you so much. That's really good. Okay, take us back. You want to share? We split up into two groups. Okay? Glamorous assistant.
So we talked a lot about the office environment, which we wanted to kind of be relaxed and calm and quiet and peaceful, but also not have kind of strict rules about how you behave in the office. And so kind of an environment that's conducive to concentration and conversations happening. Lots of energy, passion and excitement, but also still an environment you can concentrate in. Not quite sure how to articulate this. Positive, where everyone in the team has confidence and motivation, and we talked a lot about empowerment and responsibility, and that we'd hope to set the conditions so that could just genuinely come from within.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about the concept of managers empowering people. What about people just empowering themselves?
Yes.
And could we facilitate that somehow?
Yeah, good job. Thank you. Thank you.
So we talked about the company cultures, things like being inclusive, where everyone's opinion counts, a collaborative environment where people are free to explore fresh ideas that might not fit the company's vision, but explore outside of it.
Yeah.
A fearless and flexible environment where people are free to speak up. Quite a creative culture with freedom to design your own roles.
Yeah.
We thought it would be a fun place to work. The pace would be sustainable.
Yes.
Allow people to leave freely at the end of the day.
Okay.
Believing in what they do, so the ability to reject things that you felt were unethical.
Yeah.
A lot of autonomy.
Yeah.
Fair pay culture.
Okay.
A big work-life balance. With a fearless and flexible.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Before you carry on, because we are running out of time. So what I want you to do, sorry, because I would love to hear everything that's coming out over here, big time. But run out of time. Before you go, what we want you to do, we haven't go over a bit. Can we?
5 minutes.
Starts at 11:30.
So
We've got a few minutes.
Got a few minutes.
Yeah, we need to move the room around.
All right, guys, summarise. Like, you know,
Summarise, like never summarise.
One-liners. What's your best part? What's your best part?
Things that people haven't said: dogmatic training regime. Everyone will get training. Biannual retreats as a team.
Yeah.
20% working outside of the project. Go and do what you want.
Yeah.
Chef of the week. You bring in the chef of the week. Everyone votes for their favourite chef.
Love it. Let's go. Quick, strong start. Go.
Our core values, we put people first.